Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. I'm Patrice, and today we are going to be using our Cricut Maker to engrave some acrylic. So a few weeks ago during a live, I engraved some acrylic keychains, and everyone was asking, well, not really everyone, but a few of y'all were asking, how would this work if you wanted to engrave a picture? So that is what we are going to be doing today. We will be using our Cricut Maker 3, and also we need to use the engraving tool for the Cricut Maker 3. Now that tool is only for the Maker, it is not for the Explorer. So if you have the original Maker or the 3, you will be able to use the engraving tool. All right, so this is what we are going to be making. We also have this acrylic. It is 2 millimeters thick, and that is the thickest that you want to get because anything thicker will not be able to go underneath your Cricut machine. Also, we have these LED base lights from Amazon. I will have a link to everything that I used in the description below. All right, so let's get started. This is the other one that I made, and I am super excited about showing y'all how we got these done. So now we need to trace our images, and we are going to be doing this in Pic SVG because in order to get this done, you need a vector file. You need an SVG file, something that can be cut with a cutter. All right, so we are going to import this in. You can do this in any design software by using Image Trace. I just wanted to provide a program for those of you who may not have Adobe Illustrator, where you can go and get this done and for free. So right now I'm just looking at all the different filters to see which one I like best. And as you see, if you keep selecting the different filters, you'll have several different options, and all of these will be able to be cut, or for our case today, they will be able to be engraved. You just have to pick what works best for you and what you're looking to do. So for that particular image, the last of the filters, I didn't really want to do that much engraving. So I'm kind of going with more so like the outline or the inverted version of these pictures. But I did want to show you how this image changes when the background was removed and how much better that came out. So you do want to kind of play around with it. You can lighten up images prior to uploading it into the system so that you can see what works best for you and what will look good for your particular project, okay? So here I'm just playing around in here to show you all the different things, and you definitely want to make sure that you download your SVG, because you will then need to import it into Cricut Design Space. You will need to specify the machine that you're going to be using, and since we will be using the engraving tool, we have to use the Cricut Maker or the Cricut Maker 3. All right, so now I'm ready to upload my files into Design Space, and I'm just gonna head over to my file manager and pull those photos or those newly converted photos into SVGs into Cricut Design Space. You should also note that once you download these files from picsvg.com, they will be very large files because each component is individual. Okay, so you just want to take note of that. So now we are going to select these files, and these are the images that I wanted to show you all. These, I'm not sure exactly which one I want to do. I think I'm just going to work with 2 of them, but I did want to give you guys like different options so that you can see how those filters really look. Before I move forward with doing anything with these photos, I am going to select over on the layer, I'm going to select each photo, and I'm going to select every single piece of that photo. So you want to select the entire group for the one picture, and then I am going to weld. I'm going to do this for each of the pictures because right now each of those pictures are hundreds of pieces, and so you want to make it all one, which makes it easier for your machine to cut, and it saves you in time. Okay, so that's all done. I went ahead and I pulled in all of the actual photos of the sketches, and I wanted you all to kind of see like how it's sketched in comparison to the actual photo. All right, so that gives you an idea of how the original looked and how Pic SVG converted them into the SVG files that we need in order to engrave, and I think Pic SVG did a good job. So we are going to go ahead and move forward with the next step. So now in order for us to actually be able to fill in the lines, we need to import in our fill lines. And so I made a file of fill lines inside of Adobe Illustrator, and we are going to be using that. And I will also show you how to make fill lines inside of Cricut Design Space. If you want to see how I did it in Adobe Illustrator, I do have a video showing, or live showing, how to get that done. All right, so right now, as you saw, that came over looking like a black box, but as I magnify it, you see the individual lines. And so this is just thousands of lines that I put together in order to create a cuttable line file that we can import and use with the Engrave feature. So right now I created a box, and I am just slimming that box up to about 0.014 of an inch, just so that it's thick enough so that the Cricut will recognize it as a box, but not really a box. All right, so right now I'm going to keep duplicating that, and you want to make it as thin as possible. You can also adjust it at the top in the toolbar where the size is, but I just adjusted it with directly in the canvas on the screen, and I was able to see the measurements on the screen. So that's working perfectly for me. You want to get those lines, or the boxes that we kind of made into lines, you want to get those super close. And in order to get this done quickly, all you have to do is keep grouping or welding them, and then just duplicating them. And as you keep going, as you see here, I keep duplicating. Each time I duplicate, or each time I create the lines, I duplicate, I weld, and I duplicate. And then you end up with this, and honestly, y'all, I ended up with that in less than 3 minutes. All right, so these are the two different fill line files that I'm going to be using. In case you want to create your own inside of Cricut, you can. I will have a link to the file line that I designed in Adobe Illustrator listed in the description, in case you don't really have time to create your own fill line inside of Cricut Design Space. All right, so right now I went ahead and I imported in the template, and I actually made this template from a circle and a rectangle, so it's not something that came with the acrylic pieces. So all you had to do is measure the circle portion and measure the rectangular portion. But right now I am just sizing the image so that I can see how it's going to actually look on the acrylic pieces, and that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm sizing both of these images, and that way I'll know how I want it to look. The sizing looks really good, and I'm happy with it, but I want to add some text to one of them. So now I'm going to just go to the text box and add some text to one of these acrylic pieces, and I want it to curve around the circle portion of the acrylic piece. And so I am just going to head up to the top toolbar and select curve and adjust that diameter. All right, and so just need to adjust a little bit more, and it fits perfectly. I love how it looks, and with slight adjustments, everything looks good. So now I'm going to remove the templates, and then I'm just going to weld the image and the words together. Now I'm moving the templates to the side. I'm not getting rid of them. I'm just moving them to the side because I still need it. All right. So right now what I'm going to do is I am going to magnify these fill lines by 10. So multiply it by 10. All right. So really you just have to move that decimal over one place to the right, and it will be magnified by 10 or multiplied by 10. All right. And you want to do the same thing for your image. All right. So I just multiplied it by 10, or just remember that you just have to move that decimal over by 1 to the right. And you can do that right at the top in the toolbar where it says size. Multiplying it by 10 is very important, guys, because it can cause, if you do this with it being at the regular size, it could cause like stray lines throughout your image that you don't want. So test it out for yourself, but I'm just warning you. So now I am going to flip the image a little bit and maybe just make it a little bit slanted. And once I do that, I am going to select both the image and the fill line, and then I am going to select slice. And I picked up that tip from Clever Someday, and a link to her YouTube channel will be listed below in the description. So now we are ready to bring this back to normal size, and so we need to divide it by 10, or simply just move that decimal point to the left one space. All right, and so now we are back to normal, and I am simply just magnifying the screen size, not the actual image. And so we can go ahead and get rid of those fill lines, and this is what we are left with. And so now you need to kind of, they're not really grouped together, but there's multiple of the same image. And so now we are just going to go ahead and delete the two that we don't need. All right, so this will happen anytime that you're slicing, you get multiple cuts of whatever it is that you are slicing. All right, and so I just picked the one that I thought looked the best. And now I'm ready to turn this into an Engrave file. And so we are just going to head up to Operation, and we are going to change this from Basic Cut to Engrave. You could have turned this into an Engrave file before, but I usually like to wait until I'm done with slicing and everything, but you could have turned those lines and the file into an Engrave file. All right, so now we are just going to go ahead and repeat the same steps using the file that we created inside of Adobe Illustrator. So we're done with turning these images into engraved images, and I just wanted to show you all what it would look like if we didn't have the fill lines. And the way this image turned out, it's just an outline of the image. None of the hair or anything like that would be filled in. It would just be a very thin line going around as an outline. That's pretty much it. That's why I like using the fill lines, because you can get way better coverage. And this is another one where it's outlined and you would think that it would look nice, but it's only turning the outline of the image into an outline, like a whole nother outline. So that's why, you know, the fill lines are popular and why I like using the fill lines for my engravable files. All right, so I saved this project and now it's time to make it. And so now I just need to prepare the mat, and I am going to move everything to one mat. And before I really get into arranging the images, I need to go ahead and mirror this mat, because we will be cutting on the back side of the acrylic piece, so that way the hard part or the rough part will be on the back. All right, so now we're just setting this mat up, and I'm making sure not to put anything close to the edges, because I don't want those rollers interfering with the actual cut or preventing this from being engraved. All right, so right now I'm just placing these, and I'm taking note of where I'm placing them, so that when I get ready to place the actual acrylic on the mat, I can kind of match it up with what is on the screen. All right, guys, so I'm about to line up the acrylic pieces on our board, and we are using a Cricut strong grip mat today. And you just want to make sure that you peel off the plastic backing that's on there. It's on both sides. All right, so the pieces are off of both sides, and now I'm still looking at my mat on the computer in Cricut Design Space so that I match this up perfectly and I align it correctly. So right now my first etching or engraving is going to be right here, touching the one, and so that looks like that is correct. And so I'm just going to push it over a little bit, because it's right there on the line. And this is more so important for me because I do have wording, and so I do want the words to really go around there. So that is why I kept the template on the board before I get ready to actually cut. I am going to remove those templates. All right, so now we are going to line this up at 3 and 6. Okay, so this should be about right here. Yep, look, almost forgot. Don't forget to take off your protective film. All right, so we're going to line this up at the 6 and the 3. So that helps me in knowing exactly where to place it. That is exactly why I use, or I keep the templates in there until it is time to cut. Now you just got to remember to actually remove it, but that is why. All right, so that looks like that's pretty good. I'm happy with the layout. And now I'm just going to use some painter's tape. You can also use masking tape, but this painter's tape is going to make sure that these acrylic pieces are stable as they are going through your machine. This is very important because even though we're using the strong grip mat, the force of the engraving tool going back and forth on these acrylic pieces could cause it to shift or even cause it to get stuck into the machine. And so this painter's tape makes sure everything stays in place. So now we are all done setting the acrylic on the mat, and it is time for us to move our template. So make sure you click onto that template, and you can just click, hide, selected. And we are going to do that for both, okay? Because we don't need that to cut or anything. So let's get ready to select continue. And we need to go to browse on material. We are going to select acrylic. And we have 2 millimeter thick acrylic. We're going to select done. And now we are going to head to our machine. Okay, so now we are at our Cricut Maker, and we are going to remove the fine point blade that's inside and insert the engraving tool. So now we're going to place our mat into the maker, and we are just going to press our arrows. And before you even press start, you want to make sure that all of your rollers are pushed to the side because you don't want any of those rollers affecting your material. And this is thick material, so you definitely don't want any of those rollers having to clear that acrylic because it will not. And it's time for us to go. Alright, y'all, so that painter's tape did not affect the engraved areas, so that's good to see. And we are going to peel the mat away. So that took about 2 hours, maybe a little over 2 hours, and it really was because of this one. So this is how this looks, y'all, and it looks really good. This is from the back. And the other one with that inverted fill, it still came out really good. All right, y'all, so these are still flipped. And so I'm just going to clean the back off with a baby wipe. And try not to get my fingerprints all over it. Okay, so now they're all cleaned, and I actually ended up cleaning it with a little bit of Windex, and they look great. And we are going to set these inside of the bases, and we got these bases from off of Amazon. I will have a link listed in the description. And if it's here, these bases can fit up to a 4mm piece of acrylic. However, if you're using your Cricut, you can only fit a 2mm piece of acrylic inside of your Cricut. And it comes with a remote. We are going to turn it on. And there we have our acrylic pieces. And with this remote, you can change the colors.
I absolutely love how these turned out, and I want you to love how they turn out too. So I will be giving away a set of the blanks, also the LED bases, and the engraving tool for the Cricut Maker 3. All you have to do is leave the word acrylic below in the comments. I will make an announcement on Friday, April 1st, 2022 at 7 p.m. during Crafts and Convos. All right, you must be in attendance in order to win the prize. Also, check out the description because full details of this giveaway will be listed below, and it is only for U.S. residents.
All right, y'all, so we are all done with engraving this acrylic, and these look great. These would be perfect. Well, this would be perfect for like Mother's Day. So if you want to give a gift for Mother's Day, or if you want to sell some of these for Mother's Day, like, these are pretty amazing, and they're great keepsakes. All right, so I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe button. In addition, head over to Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and everywhere else, and just look for craftable things. So that's it for today, y'all. Thank you all so very much for watching. Until next time.